Hello and welcome back to another day of today's episode of Costa Rica Travel and Living Podcast. Today we're going to meet with Julie Kidd, who's retired here in Costa Rica, and we want to hear about all things retired life in Costa Rica and kind of how she ended up here and her surprises and things that she loves about living here. So without further ado, I will introduce you to Julie Kidd.
Hola.
Good morning, Julie. How are you? We're super excited to have
Good.
you.
Thank you. Excited to be here.
And tell us, where are you joining us from today?
I am in Playas del Coco, so North Costa Rica, Guanacaste, in a beautiful expat town.
Nice. And how far away is that from the Liberia airport?
About 25 minutes, unless there's traffic. It could be 2 days. We don't know.
Awesome. And where are you from originally?
California, Orange County area. I was actually born and raised in Long Beach and then, settled in to Orange County, very close to Los Angeles.
Okay. And tell us about your journey for everyone listening. How'd you end up in Costa Rica? How'd you choose Costa Rica?
It's interesting because I had I'm a single mom. I raised my three children. I worked. I was in entertainment. I taught dance. I had this beautiful life in California, Southern California. And I really haven't traveled much except for in the United States. And I never planned on moving out of my area. And then sadly, I have three kids and my middle son passed away. So my older son was like, "You need to go to Costa Rica. You need to move to Costa Rica." And I'm like, "I don't even know where that is." Not to sound stupid, but kind of. And I just was so against it, and we had a big fight. And so to appease him, I called my two sisters. I said, "Listen, I'll buy your flights. Go to Costa Rica. Let's pretend to look and see what we can find." So we did that. And we went to Tamarindo, and I was obviously very new into my grieving, over my son, but it was nice to get away and kind of detach from everything. So we went to Tamarindo first, a little bit of a party town, very busy, and I just wasn't feeling it. But we were looking, we really were, but not that I lie, but then we came to a place called Pacifico in Playas del Coco. And the second day, I was sitting out on the terrace, and it had just finished big rain, a little bit of a storm, but just gorgeous. And I just thought, oh boy, I could live here. I could see myself living here. So the next thing bought or started looking at some condos, just for fun. And I fell in love with one of the condos. So I put some money, put an offer in, and it was accepted. And I called my son and I said, "Well, we're not moving to, the mountains in Central Valley up in the jungle and building our own retreat." But I did buy a condo in Pacifico. So I was super excited about it. And I knew it was a big change. My whole family thought, "Julie's grieving. She's lost her mind. We need to get her on some kind of medication. We need to get her, some kind of help." And they all figured I'd move back to California after about 3 months. And it's been almost 3 years. And I absolutely
Wow.
love it out here. It's the community and the friends I've made. And originally I thought, well, yeah, I'm retired. I'll go out to Costa Rica. I'll do comedy. And I came out here. There's no comedy. There is a little bit maybe in San Jose, but it's Spanish speaking comedians, which, they're funny and great, but not where I live. So I just humbly, after 30 years of doing comedy, started from the ground zero bottom. And I'm doing comedy around town, and the community is so amazing. And there's so much talent out here. Now I'm playing guitar, and my whole life has changed, and I'm very happy. Am I grieving still? Yeah, but there's something about this place that is just paradise.
I love it. And how did you decide on Tamarindo and Coco, and how long did you come down for that first time to explore those two areas?
My sister actually chose the locations. I really didn't care. I was just going down to look. I didn't,
You were taking a
we actually,
vacation.
yeah. I was just going to drink wine with my sisters and do whatever. So she actually chose. I mean, she just happened. I do remember getting a email from her. She's like, "Do you want this place? It's called Pacifico, or another place." I don't remember where the other place was. And I said, "Oh, that looks nice. I don't care. Like, we're just going." to look, and which I had no intention of really doing. And it was just a blessing. It was just a gift that we landed here.
Wow. There's so many people that will reach out to me and say, "Hey, I want to move to Costa Rica," and they don't even know where to start. So it sounds like you got pretty lucky in that you kind of fell into the right place and you love where
Yeah,
you live, because I don't think that happens a ton. Sounds like you
right.
followed your heart and you guys found a really great spot.
Yeah, I just took a chance. And I came out here also thinking, and then I got rid of everything I owned in California. So then my family was really concerned. And that was
And you did
really
that right
hard.
away, or you waited?
It I kept my apartment in California for about a year. I was renting an apartment because just in case. And then it took me probably, three, you can hear my cat crying. It took me probably three times going back and forth to get, I was selling stuff, I was donating, I was giving away. But you learn a lot about yourself. So now I'm out here. I probably brought maybe just a couple suitcases. So if people buy me presents, I'm like, no, do not buy me a gift. Wine only, or Zelle me some money. No. Um, uh, I forgot. I got lost. My cat was interrupting
No, no
me.
worries. Tell us, tell us about a typical day. What does that look like for you as someone who's
So, okay, well,
sold everything?
you're gonna get a live performance, right? Let's let the cat out. Hold on, she's gonna cry, cry, cry. Come on, I'm a cat lady. I call myself a clady, a cat lady. Go on, Pickles. Um, so typical day is, at first when I was coming out here to do comedy, and I really worked a lot on kind of putting myself out there. So after 3 years, it's pretty steady. On Mondays, I'm at this wine place where they play live music. On another night, I'm over at the Palms Hotel, doing open mic. And then I book shows. Before I would be like, can I do a show? Can I do a show? And now it's like, it's happening. I'm doing the tap room. I've done the Pacifico Village shops. I'm doing different, and I just did a big show, I don't know, a week ago. So I'm just kind of rebuilding, but being retired also, I love waking up in the morning and just not having to go into an office all day. I get to decide what I want to do, when I want to do it. So basically and I teach dance out here, like a dance fitness. I do palm reading and comedy. That's kind of my main thing. There's 4 pools here. I live in paradise. So every day is just gratitude, waking up gratitude. I go to the pool, hit the gym, hang out. I've got like friends. I feel like in California, I was working and doing shows. I never really had like friends in the community that I have, been so blessed with out here. And we just meet up, go play guitar. And also, this is kind of weird. If I was in LA and it said, hey, I just learned guitar, a week ago, can I play it? They'd be all, no, no, but out here, they're like, oh, yeah, get up here. Come on, play with us. So I'm a fake guitar player. I know where the hands need to go, but I'm obsessed now. And I'm learning from the best musicians. So I
I
feel like
love
I'm
that.
kind of busy out here, but I'm also just enjoying, nothing.
I love it. And tell us, do you speak Spanish? And if not, do you feel like that hinders your ability to be a part of a community?
That was my goal when I got here, was to speak Spanish. And after about 2 weeks, I learned 2 words: automercado, the grocery store. And then it took me 2 more weeks to realize, oh, it's not a car part store. I do, it's funny. I do know a few words that I didn't realize, it kind of embeds inside your brain. And I do take Spanish on lessons on YouTube. That's where I take guitar lessons. And then there's a lot of Canadians out here. They call it little Canada. And there's a Canadian app that you could learn Spanish while you sleep. So I did that. And then I woke up the next morning, Buenos dias, eh? No, that's a joke. ¿Cómo estás? Sorry. I tease them. I love the Canadian community out here. So I do try. I'm mesmerized and so impressed by people that do speak Spanish. And that is something I try to, I've got a few words here and there.
So If you don't consider yourself fluent, do you find that it hinders your ability to to communicate or to be a part of a community or groups of friends or
I feel like the Ticos, I'll go to the beach club. I belong to a beach club living in Pacifico, and I'll give them my membership number and I'll do it in Spanish. And they're like, oh, they just egg you on and they love it. But I have a translator on my phone, and actually, this sounds really weird. I feel like you kind of develop this little friendship because you're doing translator and you're next to them showing, and then they're doing this. You're kind of trying to figure out this conversation together. I had three Tico policemen here yesterday because the golf cart broke down and they were helping me push it. And we were going back and forth, and then before you know it, we're smiling and thank you. And, see you later. Adios. You just kind of manage it together and nobody, makes you feel bad about it. But I feel like out of respect for where I live, I do want to learn more Spanish. So I work on it here and there.
I think, I live in more of a rural place than where you do, but even here, I feel like a lot of people understand phrases and words in English. Not again to take away from what you're saying of like, hey, yeah, you should probably learn some Spanish if you're living in a Spanish speaking country. Agreed. But it is pretty easy if you only speak English to get by in many places,
Oh,
especially a
yeah.
lot of beach towns here in Costa Rica.
Right. And where I live is, like a retirement community and people speak English. When you go down to the restaurants, and I love the different culture and I love the language and I appreciate it and I respect it. And I kind of feel bad that I am not better at it.
Hmm. But it's nice. And it's also, I think it's important to note about the Costa Ricans. A lot of them speak English.
Yeah.
Where I grew up in Wisconsin, there weren't as many bilingual or even half bilingual people like there are here. And so I think it's also it's impressive of the Costa Rican community and
Yeah.
Ticos down here that are able to speak so much English.
And they
Tell
help
us
you. Like
about
I'll be at the market, checking out, and they'll say something and then they'll say it in English and then repeat it and then they kind of look at you and then you say it and they're like, "Yeah, you got it." It's so endearing.
yeah. And tell me, were there any like unexpected surprises when you moved down here or something you're like, oh, wasn't expecting that, or any challenges that you faced, coming down here as a single female, kind of, on your own?
Yeah, I think I'm first of all proud of myself. It was definitely a brave move. And my son that passed, sometimes I feel like he guided me here, everything here. So one thing is, it is a different culture, and the driving, and it is very different. And this sounds kind of weird, but sometimes when I'm here, it's so beautiful, and I am so grateful, and I'm like, am I in heaven? Did I die? I mean, it's that amazing, and the people and the culture, and I'm near the beach, and um, the things for me that have really changed is right now my car is broke down very far away. I ride a bike, I walk everywhere. I've got a basket and I've got my guitar in the basket. I don't know who I am sometimes. And I feel like I've grown more from being in a different country and, of course, enjoying the community than I would have. I was living the life, doing comedy for 30 years. I had produced one of the largest long-running all headliner female group. And that's what people were surprised is that I would leave that life and come here. But I felt like I needed to close this chapter and just start fresh. And, like anywhere, there's good and bad. One thing that really surprised me is early on, I fell in love. I met a Tico man, beautiful, smart. He was president of an HOA, and I fell in love quick. And then, got my heart broken, and I was just devastated after being single for over a decade. My goal was to stay single, and then boom. But, that was a nice, quick chapter. I'm over it now. But, a lot of, and then also I brought two cats out here and one of my cats passed away, not to talk about bad things, but I'm still living life, even though it's paradise and I have this gratitude, I still grieve. Things happen, like regular life. So you just take it, and it's part of life. Helps me grow.
I think there's this vulnerability that you come here with to just kind of accept all of the good things and all of the things
Yeah.
as they come to you. And there it's this space where you grow in a way that perhaps you've never thought, especially probably at your age, you're like, I've done it all, right? I've
Yeah.
had the professional life, I've done, all of the headlining and all of the things. But when you come here I came here from Wisconsin as a single female too, and you're so vulnerable. And so this growing that you do, because you have to
Yeah.
rely on others and you have to, ask for help and take chances and sound silly when trying to speak Spanish at the grocery store. But, it's also this beautiful thing that happens
Hmm.
there too, and you grow. Um, so
Yeah, I'm
I think
still
that's really
growing.
cool.
There's still things in life, and my goal is to stay single, but I make all these plans, and now I'm like, you know what, God, take the wheel, because obviously what I'm doing, is, you know, but then again, like I said, I'm learning, and lessons, and actually the breakup, probably, after, laying in bed, grieving the loss of, love, and how I felt. Um, Not really missing that person, but missing how it made me feel. I just got back on it and started working harder at what I wanted to achieve here, the comedy. I've written 2 more books since I've been here. I'm pushing, I'm learning, guitar, I'm learning new things. And I would have been embarrassed in the, years ago to say Spanish words because, I would have felt insecure. And now I just do my best and try, and, I love it.
I love it. What's something that you wish you would have known before moving here? Like,
That's a
is it
good question.
healthcare or how easy it
Yeah.
is to buy things on Amazon? What's something that you maybe weren't expecting or that you wish you would have known before moving here?
I think it's so easy in the US. Get things on Amazon, have someone come and fix your car. I feel like once I got here, it takes a minute to figure out, prices, where to shop, who's going to fix your car. I didn't realize cars were going to be so expensive. But I had absolutely no idea about the culture, about the country. I came here just like an infant, a kindergartner trying to learn. It's like learning guitar. I'm like, oh, you got to tune it. Oh, it has 6 strings. Oh, I need a pick. It took me. I started playing guitar in May. Like literally, this is horrible to admit. I've been playing this one guitar. Finally, 2 weeks ago, I'm like, oh, there's a built-in tuner. I don't know what I thought it was, but and that makes me sound dumb. I'm gonna let my cat in. Come on, cancels. But I the best part about being here is I came with no expectations. I wanted to work, get through grieving, and then when I got here, the one thing that I do remember thinking is, oh, I need to love myself. I need to set boundaries. And, you know, which that was another lesson in the breakup because I gave so much, and financially that got, screwed for. But, I just take it as another lesson. So I really came here not expecting much. I loved Pacifico. I loved the condo. I loved the pools. And I was right by the beach. And I just started right there and just kept building, building.
Awesome. Speaking of finances, do you think Costa Rica is as cheap as people believe it to be before coming here?
I think it's very touristy where I live and it can be expensive, but I hate when people come here and then put it down. Oh my God, it's so expensive. I can't believe I spent $10, for a drink. You're on vacation and you could afford it. And the Ticos don't make very much money out here. Excuse me. Um, it's less expensive probably if you went to Hawaii or New York, but you figure out where to eat, how to shop. And I love to do comparison pricing. It is a little expensive. The cars are expensive, but I'll tell you what is great is medical. And I'm not on any medications, and I thank God, healthy. if I go to the doctor, they're like, oh, okay, we'll see you in 10 minutes. You're not waiting 2 months. And that to me is really inexpensive, including, I'm going to turn my phone off. Hold on. I'm so sorry. What the heck? The dentist is really, I found that to be really inexpensive too. So I feel like medical is easy. Oh, and you just walk into to get a prescription for something. No big deal. There's not all these extra visits and these extra charges and a long time to see the doctor. And for somebody my age, and there's a lot of people my age and older, that is wonderful. We get the help we
Yeah, I
need.
think there's also a big difference between the government sponsored CAHA, right? Like the universal system here, and then the private clinics. The private, and even the CAHA is, I think, pretty well known for being a phenomenal system. If someone,
Right,
gets truly sick, they're able to move pretty quickly in that
right.
system. But yeah, I mean, I've had dental work done here. I've gone to, get shots and things like that, and you just schedule an appointment for next week and you can get in
Right.
and yeah,
Mhm.
maybe you show up and you have to wait 20 minutes or whatever, but you can get in pretty quick. And I
Yeah,
remember
it's
the
really
very
easy.
first time, for
Yeah,
the
love
first
it.
time I went horseback riding here and I got bit by a spider and
See?
I was like, oh, it's nothing. And I waited a few days and then it was on my leg and I started to see that it was like a black dot in the middle. I'm like, I feel like I know it's getting really like, it was like
Infected.
getting not infected, but it was really red and getting kind of puffy. I'm like, I feel like I should probably go get this checked out. And it was a Sunday. I'm like, oh gosh, to go into a emergency clinic on a Sunday, I'm going to pay an arm and a leg. But I'm like, I don't really want to wait till tomorrow. I remember going. He like cleaned it all up. He shot me in the butt with some anti something or another, and then I was walking out of the clinic, and they had like a conbit. They had like a connection with one of the pharmacies. And so I paid. Then I walked like 5 steps to go get the medication that they prescribed to me, some antibiotic. And I paid like less than $200 for all of that. And
Oh,
I was like, what? First of all, I got,
yeah.
they gave me service right away. I was able to do everything I needed to do in the same, however many square feet.
Yeah.
And I thought that it was super reasonable. And this was, I don't know, maybe 5, 6 years ago. And I was like, this is so great. Again, this was at
Yeah.
the private clinics, private clinic, but I've felt like it's pretty great here too.
And also talk about pricing, getting a pedicure, the stuff that we love to do, and a massage, so cheap. So there are things that are expensive. Yeah, you figure it out. But the medical thing and oh, my haircut is $10. And I just, in the States, are like, okay, that'll be $50 for a 2-minute trim. And so you do figure it out. And the one thing that I love the best about this community in Coco is literally I just can walk anywhere. Even the beach is, a couple minutes away. I walk, well, now I ride my bike a lot, but it's so easy for me to get around. And, maybe God forbid that could change, health wise for me. Because I'm in my 60s, but right now, this is what I'm doing and this is what I love and enjoy. And if peanut
I think
butter is
a
a little more
hot,
expensive, a couple more dollars than the US, oh well, then, be
yeah.
smart about it.
I think a hot topic or a question that I get a lot from my travelers is it safe? Do you feel safe living there? How would you answer that?
That is probably a rabbit hole kind of, you know, thought for me. I raised three Black children, and my kids are biracial. So I think living in the U.S., I witnessed a lot of racism and social injustice, and sometimes I didn't feel like my kids were safe. And I have a son out here, brown skin. This I don't want to sound weird, but just fits right in, and I do feel more comfortable about that. I'm a single lady, so I do try to be smart. I watch my back when I'm walking, if it's late at night or riding my bike. It's not like in the States, I'd have to have a helmet on. Here I don't, but I do have big flashlights. I keep myself safe. Anywhere you go, look in the States. There's so much going on in the United States, elementary schools, this, that. I feel like that doesn't happen out here. Are there things that can happen? Yes. Do people, oh, I got, someone broke into my car. It's going to happen anywhere. Just here's the thing. Don't leave your cell phone on the restaurant table and go for a swim. People do, sometimes they got to have better sense about them. And actually, I feel like everyone's been pretty honest with me. The only time I ran into, really getting kind of ripped off was from my ex partner. And, it that can happen, but it happens in the States. It happens in Europe. It
I
happens in
think
Canada.
I think you just need to, I always say to my travelers too, like, I don't do anything here that I wouldn't do back home. I
Yeah.
think sometimes people come and they go on vacation or, and they like hyper trust everything around them. And it's like, if you wouldn't do that back where you're from or in a, neighboring city to where you're from, you probably shouldn't do
Yeah.
it here. I've been here for 8 years and I've never, thank gosh, knock on wood, I've never had a
Wow.
safety issue. But I don't go out, especially, I lived here for 5 years as a single female and I'd never go out, walking even the streets of La Fortuna at 11 o'clock at night by myself. I wouldn't put
Yeah.
myself
Yeah.
in those situations. And so I think as long as you're traveling smart, whether you're, looking to live full time here or just coming down, for a visit,
Hmm.
as long as you're smart about it and you don't do
Right.
things that you wouldn't do back home, I feel like it's genuinely pretty, pretty safe country.
And if you're in the United States, even Beverly Hills and parts of LA, people have tall gates, to guard their house. People come here, oh my God, what are they afraid of? I see it all the time in California. And there's no homeless out where I am, maybe one person. So, you're not walking up and down the street with, that, worrying about that or somebody, drugged. I feel like the people that are the ones partying the most are the Americans and the Canadians that come out here on vacation. So to me, be careful, for the speed bumps, the potholes. You have to keep your eye on stuff. And like I would never walk, and everything's two-way streets, there's no street lights. So that's kind of dangerous, the driving and getting around. Don't be on your cell phone walking because you will twist your ankle. You will fall. I see people fall. I've fallen a couple times, and not from over drinking or whatever, but you just have to just watch your step. And you know same way as you would be in the US, I'm not going to be out like at midnight, walking around
Right.
ever.
And if someone, maybe just to wrap it up here, if someone called and said, "Hey, Julie, I heard you on the podcast. I'm looking to move to Costa Rica. What advice do you have?" What would you tell them? Where would you tell them to start? How to get started? How do they find their place? The place that they're, gonna feel
Yeah.
as they fit in. What
One
advice would
thing
you
that
give?
I did, now that you say that, I went on YouTube and I started going down the Costa Rica rabbit hole, and I enjoyed that, seeing people speak about different areas, and also find the podcast and listen to what people that have lived here for a while, learn Spanish, learn what colon is, the money difference, learn about those little things. And um, you're going to come out here, we have these expectations, but I say put those aside and come out here, enjoy and learn and enjoy the different culture and the different food. But the ticos here have been nothing but kind. And yeah, I came out here just like an infant. I had no expectations. So, learn a little Spanish, learn about the money, and check your receipts. I will say that because sometimes there's communication difference, and even ordering food, be very, specific on detail what you want or what you're expecting.
Awesome. And if you had to sum up your Costa Rica experience in the 3 years that you lived here in one word, what would it be?
Paradise.
Love it.
Yeah,
Love
I'm
it.
very, very, very grateful. Very grateful.
I
Didn't
love
see
it.
this coming in my life, and here I am.
Well, look at you. Your son asking you to come check out Costa Rica and you had no idea what was in for you and you came down, ended up buying a condo and now you love it. So,
I do
um,
song parodies, and one of them is I'm not effing moving to Costa Rica. It's pretty funny around here. And yeah, and that's what's interesting too is my comedy, my jokes, everything is Costa Rica based. What I do here, I can't do in LA. So yeah, this is life. This is where I want to be right now. We'll see where
I
God
love it.
takes me next.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. If anyone has any questions for Julie about Playas del Coco, about how to find your community, about how to, find the place that you fit in, about moving to Costa Rica, about how she did any more questions you guys have, feel free to reach out to her. We'll leave her contact information and email here, along with her social media pages as well, if anyone wants to follow along with the fun stuff that she's doing in Coco. I think it's fun to hear, how you kind of arrive in a new place and make it your own and embrace all of the different changes and parts of community, of somewhere so new and so different from where you're from. So thank you so much for sharing that with us.
My pleasure. And I'll say gracias and adios.
Perfect. For now, if you're loving this podcast, feel free to give us a like, a thumbs up, share with your friends on social media, and feel free to reach out to me as well. Thank you so much for following along.
Thank you. Adios.